All right, and we are live. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy AJ with another live discussion. I don't do these a whole lot, but I had to bring my boy Tyler out, Mind of a Nerd, out to talk about this new film, Uncharted. We both love the series, so let's get into our discussions about, get into the discussion about how we feel about this film. Tyler saw it earlier today. I saw it yesterday. So we're going to get into this thing. So let's go. Ty, my man, how you doing, bro?
I'm tired.
Is that any indication how you feel about this movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck my life. So this is Uncharted 4. I bought it pre-owned. But I am a fan of these games. I love them. I do have the the 3 from the Nathan Drake collection.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't been with these games for very long. I say I've had them for about a year or two. I played them during quarantine, as did most people, apparently. I guess a lot of Uncharted fans were born during the pandemic.
Yo. I had the PS3 versions.
I guess a lot of fans were born through the pandemic because of these games, because Sony was generous enough to make, I think, all 4 of them, well, 5 now, because they made Lost Legacy free for PlayStation Plus. They made them all free for PlayStation Plus. So I played through them all, and I was very stubborn going into those games because I was like, oh, I'm a Tomb Raider guy. They can't be better than Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is where it's at. And in some instances, I think Tomb Raider is better, but in other instances, I think Uncharted's better. And I'm happy to be a fan of these games. To give context, the first game is good, a bit dated, but good. 2 is amazing, a little bit too long, but great. 3 is very flawed, in my opinion. I don't really love it like that. It's
What's
solid.
your difference in opinion from 3 when you first played it to your replay, like throughout the last few weeks?
I liked 3 when I played it, and I was kind of just like, okay, on to 4. And that's kind of how I felt when I played it again. I was like, okay, on to 4.
Yeah.
And Uncharted 4 is one of the best games ever on the PlayStation.
Ever made, period. In my opinion,
it's good. It's not a perfect game, but it's damn close. It's a really good game. So, and Lost Legacy is the most underrated in the franchise, in my opinion. And I think personally, for me, it's better than 1 and 3. That's my opinion on that. Okay, so,
I respect it.
Walking into this movie, I wasn't like, oh, fuck this movie. This shit's gonna be terrible. I was just like, okay, I guess this is happening. I didn't hate the idea of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I was like, okay. I did hate the idea of Mark Wahlberg as Sully. I definitely did hate that. And I heard things about the movie, like, oh, Chloe's going to be in right there. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And
I was very skeptical as well.
When I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, it looks better than I thought it would. But then once that trailer hype, I guess, went away, I was like, wait, why is the first movie doing one of the biggest action sequences from 3 in the first movie? Wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute, why is Sam being mentioned? Wait a minute, why is Chloe being mentioned? Wait a minute, why are these people friends with each other when they don't even meet for 2 fucking games? So I kind of just stood away from all of it, and then they released another trailer, and I was like, okay. It felt like they showed the whole movie in the trailer, which they did.
And I didn't watch the second trailer.
Yeah, the second trailer, they showed the whole third act with the pirate ships and all that. They showed all that. So I was like, okay, I guess. So walking into this movie, of course, it's a video game movie, so the reviews are going to be mixed. I've never seen a video game movie where everyone's like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, never. Yeah, like, they're usually pretty divisive.
The closest was like Sonic. Most people were like, "Oh, it's a 6 and up," So, walking into this movie, I really had no expectations. I walked in and I was just like, "Let's just get it over with," I guess. And walking out, I felt the same way walking in. I didn't feel any different. I walked
Okay.
in with meh expectations and I walked out feeling meh. This movie really did nothing for me. It was, I can't say it's a bad movie, but it's not one I'm probably ever gonna watch again unless it gets a sequel, which I doubt it will. But it's not a bad movie. I can't say this is a bad movie. I can't because there's good things which we'll get into that I liked. There's things in this movie I liked that surprised me that I would like. But then there's other things where I'm like, I expected to not like that, and I'm not surprised that I did not like that. It's just, and it's funny too. I've seen people say, "Oh, this is like National Treasure and Indiana Jones." I haven't seen all of those types of treasure adventure movies. I've seen Raiders one time. I haven't seen National Treasure at all.
You gotta get on that, bro.
So,
you gotta get on it.
So even without watching those, I still felt like we've been here. And I it's just frustrating. It's frustrating.
We'll definitely get into the details, of how we feel about certain sequences and certain things about it.
Overall, it's fine. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just, it's there. It's fine. That's how I feel coming out of Uncharted.
Got you. So my history with the games, I started playing them when they were released. Well, I started at 3. When 3 came out on PS3, that's when I started those games. I played the third one. My mom got it for me for Christmas. For whatever reason, I was like, I saw the trailer. I was like, I want this game. And she got it for me. And then after I played 3 through, I really enjoyed it. So I went back and played 1 and 2. Then we waited a long time for 4. But when that dropped, my mind was blown. I love the gameplay. The way it looked was great. So 4 definitely is my favorite of the, series. Then Lost Legacy came out. It was good. It was a fun playthrough. I don't know. I haven't played it in a while. I haven't played it since I first played it. So I can't really say like it's better than any other ones. Right. As of now, I don't feel that way. But once I go through it again, maybe. But yeah, so I love the games. So when I heard about this movie coming out, I was like, okay, this is gonna be dope. I wanted, somebody that kind of gave that essence of Nathan Drake. I wanted them to be spot on with the casting. And when I heard who's going to be casted as Nathan Drake, I was like, really? We got Spider-Man doing no. So I was completely against that. Then I heard about Mark Wahlberg being Sully, and I said, this movie is going to be a disaster, bro. This is like some Hollywood product. Like, what are they doing? So going into this movie, I felt pretty much that way. I was like, I do not expect much from this film. I think that's one reason why I ended up liking it, because I had very low expectations. I know you say that you try to go in with no expectations. I had very low expectations for this film. And like I walked out feeling like, of course, there were things that I felt like were flawed in the film. And I kind of had to put on 2 different hacks throughout this film, where it's a film itself, standalone, and then the adaptation part of my brain had to go off, because I felt myself comparing these characters and how they're written, their mannerisms, everything to the games, and I started to get very frustrated. So that's when I had to kind of switch over to like, this is an actual film. Let's not take all the games and compare them, because I definitely have a bias towards these games. So I think that's another reason why I walked out liking it. I don't love this film, but I really had a good time, and we're going to get into why I had a good time with it, and kind of like comparing and contrasting. But yeah, I walked away with a smile on my face. So, no. Getting into the plot. I kind of wanted to read off the IMDb plot of this. Looking it up. Street smart Nathan Drake is recruited by seasoned treasure hunter Victor Sullivan to recover the fortune amassed by Ferdinand Magellan and lost 500 years ago by the House of Mancata. And right there is one of the most generic treasure hunting stories that you could ever find.
This is the thing. When you slot that in the plot of a movie, you get what you just said, generic. But every plot of Uncharted is the same. Just a different historical figure. That's it. It's we have to go find this treasure, but it's a different historical figure.
Yep, but there's a villain there.
Yeah, there's but the reason that those games get away with it is because they're immersive and cinematic, and they're action packed, and the characters are well written. When I was watching this movie, I compared it to the games very little because I knew this was not a hardcore adaptation of Drake's Fortune or any of the other ones. It's not like Raccoon City where they told us from the get-go, this is the adaptation of Resident Evil 1 and 2 smushed together. That's why I'm harder on that movie, because they fucked that up. But so with this movie, really the only comparing I did was the characters. That's really all I did. And even that, I wasn't trying to connect it. I was just trying to, okay, let's see what they do.
It's kind of inevitable though.
Because it is inevitable. Games. Yeah, but I can't say that the whole movie I was like, oh, that's like the game. That's not like the game. That's like the no. When I saw things like the game, I appreciated it. When I picked up on little things. For example, the first thing that I picked up on, which I loved that they did this, is when he walks in to Sully's apartment, I guess, and he sees the green lion, and that's from one of the games.
Yes.
And he picks it up and he goes, "Oh, this looks valuable," and he puts it in his bag. I was like, "That's cool! Like that's cool." I love that too. And he has the journal throughout the movie. That's cool. And the part where he climbs on the cannon, he's climbing like the game. I was like, "That's."
Oh, you talking about in the third act?
Yeah, like when that was cool.
Oh yes,
that was cool. I was like, "Oh, all right, I see you. I see you, Sony. You bastards. I see you." The story in this movie is they start the movie like Uncharted 4, where it's the flashback with him and his brother in the orphanage, which I don't like that they're bringing in the stuff with that in this movie.
I was just gonna say they kind of started like Uncharted 2, where it's like in the middle of the game.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
But then they kind of move on to 4 with the orphanage and 15 years before.
I like the scene itself. I don't like that they're doing this now, but I did.
You're talking about with Sam?
Yes.
Okay.
But I did like the scene itself. I was like, okay, that's cool setup. And then the rest of the plot is that he gets recruited by Sully. From the first line of dialogue from Mark Wahlberg, I was like, nope. No.
Is that comparing the Sullys?
No.
When you felt that way?
Yes, that's comparing it. But I said this in my review. Acting wise, he's fine. He's Mark Wahlberg, and I said this in my review, my review on Instagram. When they, as actors, they have good chemistry, and I enjoyed seeing them. But as Mark Wahlberg as Sully, just no. I did not like him as Sully. I liked him in the movie. I did not like him as Sully. I didn't
felt the
buy
exact
it
same way
at all. Tom Holland, on the other hand, I appreciated it, and I did enjoy him as Nathan, a young Nathan Drake. And the thing I appreciated the most was when he's acting in this. Yeah, I mean,
like 5 years younger.
he's still young Nathan Drake. He's not,
Sorry,
when I'm
I cut you off.
watching, no, when I'm watching him act in this movie, the thing I appreciated is I don't see Peter Parker. That's what I didn't see. I saw a different role. I didn't see, hey, Mr. Stark, I'm gonna go find treasure. That's not what I saw.
Okay.
For me, at least. When he was throwing the one-liners and stuff, I was like, okay, and even my friend who was next to me, he was like, it's hard. It's kind of funny watching him be such a sarcastic prick when he's Spider-Man. I was like, I kind of like that. It's different. It's not just him being, hey, Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
When
we first saw him as Nathan Drake, like in the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is Spider-Man, bro. I can't get over that. But as like we started to progress, he was the bartender. He was, talking to the young lady at the bar and things like that. And I was like, this kind of felt like Nathan. I like this. Even though I don't think Nathan was a bartender at all, I think that's something that they threw in for this movie. But I like that, and the way he was talking to her, the way he was talking to Sully, I was like, this isn't quite like man. I feel like there were a few things like that felt like Peter Parker, like his facial expressions, his mannerisms kind of felt like Peter Parker a little bit. But overall, I felt a Nathan Drake vibe from Tom Holland. That's his rendition of Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Looks wise, not so much, but he can't.
I don't know, man. I kind of dug the wardrobe and stuff. I don't know. I liked it. It was cool.
The wardrobe was dope. No, like they got the wardrobe down. I'm just talking his facial expressions, his mannerisms, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got the wardrobe down, especially in that third act.
Man, let me
when he had the holsters and stuff.
Bro, when he put it on and the theme kicked on, I said, "Oh shit, let's go!"
Yes, man.
Oh man, you kind of.
We're gonna get to that. I'm lagging. I'm lagging a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me try to. I don't know if I can fix that anyway. But yeah, as far as so how did you feel about Chloe?
I liked her a lot. I liked what they did with her.
Okay.
And I was nervous because the only thing I've ever saw this actress in was Truth or Dare, and I was like, but ironically, she was the best part of that movie. So I was like, okay. So
is that saying much though? I haven't seen Truth or Dare though. It's all right. She's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she has the best scene in the movie. She has a legit good scene in the movie, but whatever. So I was like, okay. And from like the first 5 minutes of her on screen time, I was like, yeah, they did my girl good, bro. They did my girl good. She is my second favorite character. Yeah, she's my second favorite character in this franchise, in the games, and I did like what they did with her, and I thought she was good in the movie too. And I like the relationship that him and her have, Nathan and her have. I really like that. And if they do a sequel and she's back,
she's got to be back.
Complain.
She's got to be back. If there's a sequel.
If they do a sequel and she's not back, they could have had someone else who does not make a single fucking appearance in this movie for what I don't know.
Weird. So weird that Elena's not in this movie.
I thought she was going to be one of the post-credit scenes.
I thought she was too. I thought she was too, or I don't know, man. I was like, where is Elena?
When the first post-credit scene was Sam, I was like, because I knew what the second one was because fucking Sony showed it in the damn trailer.
Oh, they did? See,
yes,
there was the second. It had to be the second trailer.
Yeah, it was because they showed the part where he has the fucking mustache. I was like,
I saw something where he had the cat in his backpack, but that was it. I didn't see the mustache or anything. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I don't know, man. But Elena wasn't in this film, and that was weird. I don't know.
I thought it was gonna be like that when they walked out of the bar. I thought there was gonna be the newscast, and she was gonna be there.
Yeah,
I
she was
was
gonna be
waiting
like the
for it.
journalist or something. Yeah, I don't know. They
I
kind of
mean,
dropped the ball with that.
I guess
Unless they're holding on to that for the sequel or something. I don't
I
know.
guess it kind of makes sense because he doesn't meet her until he's a little bit older.
Yeah, but
So
he
I guess
doesn't. I mean, he meets Sully at this age now, but in the games he meets him way younger. So like they could have had her in there. Like exactly like you said earlier, though, they're not adapting these games like that closely. So they
yeah.
could had some leeway there with the writing. But I don't know. It's kind of baffles me.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see her in the film
I
for
was
sure.
disappointed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Sully, I don't think they're gonna do anything to make me like him at all. I don't know who you're gonna get to play him. I don't. It's the same thing with Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. I don't know who else would play him that would make me be like, yeah, okay, that's Nathan Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And I
I put some
honestly,
thought on that too, and I
and
couldn't really
honestly,
tell you.
people were like, "Oh, I want Mark Wahlberg. I wanted Mark Wahlberg to be Nathan Drake." I don't want that at all. Like he,
He would have been a better Nathan Drake than Sully, in my opinion.
yeah, I don't know. I don't like him. And then seeing him with the mustache, I'm like, that's not making me like it more,
They tried.
bro.
They
That's so
tried. They
dumb.
tried with that. Yeah, they tried
That
with
was
that.
Tom Holland in that scene. What is that on your face?
At least that you got a little laugh out of that.
Um, in terms of other characters, Antonio Banderas
Yeah,
was
we'll
not
get
good.
to the villain. I got a whole nother
All right,
section
cool.
for the villains. We gonna
I
talk
don't think
about
there
that.
were any more from the game. They showed Sam, and he looks like Tom Hanks from Castaway in the jail cell. I guess.
He does.
I guess
He does.
like that
How'd you
they
feel
were.
about that though? How'd you feel about them showing Sam he wasn't really dead? We were led to believe that he was dead
Well,
throughout the
we
film.
know he. Well, I wasn't led to believe he was dead.
I mean, well,
I was
that's
like,
how.
come
I mean, that's
on.
how the story went. We kind of knew in our back of our mind that he wasn't, but that's how
When
that's
they
how they
showed
portrayed it in the
him,
film.
when they showed him, I was like, okay. The
Really?
way the scene came off, I was like, okay, what is he gonna come back? Are we gonna
Mm,
introduce the villains from Uncharted 4? Probably.
mm.
I don't
I
know.
was like,
I was
it's
like,
got to be
okay.
Sam. That's how I felt. I was like,
Yeah,
it's
I
got
knew
to
it was
be
gonna be
Sam in
Sam
there.
when they showed him
Got to
in
be Sam
jail,
in there.
but it was just like, it was so quick. I was like, all right, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yeah.
I didn't feel any type of way for it because
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I don't really care.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
I don't know if this was like Uncharted 3, if the movie was Uncharted 3 and they were honing in on the whole brother thing, and he was like, "Oh, my brother was dead," blah blah blah, and then he shows up in the post credit scene. We're like, "Oh shoot!" But it's
So
just like,
you felt like they needed to earn that more.
yeah, I feel like if we had gotten maybe more, like in Uncharted 4, we get, even though I hate these scenes, we get multiple scenes with him and Sam together as children, and
Oh,
you really
you're talking
under.
about the scenes where they're trying to
Mhm.
break out of the orphanage and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Mhm.
yeah. Like I don't like those scenes in the games, but they do serve a purpose of building that relationship. And you're like, oh, okay, I understand. And in Uncharted 4, when Sam meets up with him, that relationship is super duper strong.
It
I
is.
don't feel like if we get the sequel and he shows up, I don't feel like it's gonna match that height at all. It's just gonna be like, hey, I'm alive.
I don't know. I don't know because I feel like when they reunite, I feel like they are going to, feel that, same sense of brotherhood. I don't know. It's something about brotherhood can't be lost like that. So I don't know. It's just lost, not forgotten. Or what is it?
Yeah,
It's not lost, it's not gone.
yeah,
So I think that's kind of like the parallel that they were talking about with the brothers. Like, they're not lost or they're not gone, they're lost. I keep messing it up. Anyway, yeah, so the characters, Chloe, okay, I want to go back, rewind
Mhm.
back to Chloe. Um, Chloe is one of my favorites of the game, one of my favorite characters of the game. So I was a little bit hard on that character. I didn't hate how she portrayed Chloe, but I didn't love how her character was written.
It was predictable.
It was predictable. It was, but like we kind of feel that with Chloe anyway. Like we know that she's in the game. She kind of double crossed people. It happens in the game, so we kind of figured that it's going to happen in the film. It did. And I don't know. Like I think that character is going to have to grow on me. I have to give this film another watch. Maybe I'll grow on that character. But I did like how he gave her the wrong coordinates. I saw it coming, but I did like how he gave her the wrong coordinates. But that's pretty much the only thing about their relationship that I liked. Okay, moving on to the VFX, CGI, green screen. How'd you feel about these, man? How'd you feel about the effects in this film?
I thought it was just like the rest of the movie, fine. There wasn't a single effect where I was like, oof, that's no bueno. But I thought it was fine. The only scene where I thought it was a little wonky was where they're falling after the plane, where they fall off
with the plane. Yep.
When they're falling, when they're free falling, I was like, oh, that's looking a little wonky there, bro. And Chloe looked a little weird. I was like, they CGI Chloe? That looks weird. But other than that, I thought all the pirate ship stuff that looked cool. I would say the editing in that scene was not that great for me. Like when Sully and Nathan were fighting off the soldiers, it was like cut, and I'm like, dude, chill out, bro. Like.
I really like the choreography with that, though.
The choreography was cool, but the editing wasn't.
I can understand that. But I will say this right here, right now. As soon as Nathan found the ships, I had a smile from ear to ear throughout the rest of the movie. Not the post credit scene, but the third act. I knew you were gonna say that. The third act saved this film. I would think I was sitting at a 3. Until the third act came. When the score started booming in the theaters, to hear the Uncharted score in the theaters, man, I was turning up. I looked over at Stacy, she was like, but I was like, yes, let's go.
Yeah, listen, I wasn't loving the movie, but when he threw on the thing and I heard I was like, all right, bro. You got me. You got me, you bastard. You got me.
I felt the smile from New York.
I was like,
I felt the smile.
Okay, you got me. But yeah, that part was, and we saw it in IMAX, and it was IMAX enhanced for that third act.
Oh wow,
it was cool. It was cool. And awesome. IMAX enhanced. I
didn't know they had that for this film.
Neither did I. I found out today. I was like, oh, that's cool. Interesting. But yeah, the third act was cool. There were some deaths that were surprisingly violent. Like there was one hanging off the pirate ship and it flew by a rock and you just heard boom off the rock. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, he is beyond dead after that one.
D-U-D.
And then the villain got fucking demolished by the fucking
by the ship. Yo, I thought she was gonna live, and then they showed the pirate ship come down, and I was like, yo. But yeah, moving on to the Easter eggs. I only found 2. You mentioned one, and I did notice it. But I only counted 2. I saw the Naughty Dog logo in the briefcase when you opened it. It was so quick. I wish they would have showed it a little bit longer. But yeah, I did see that. And then on the beach, when they got to the beach, we saw
Nolan North.
And I was like, yo, is that... That's him. That's him.
That was funny. Of course, my friend, he's never played the game, so he's like, "Who's that?" And I'm like,
bruh. Play the games. No, but yeah, Nolan North made an appearance, and you know, I feel like he kind of signed off on the movie. Like, you know, he kind of was like, okay, I approve. But yeah, so there was a few Easter eggs. Like you said on the ship where he was, you know, climbing the cannon. It looked like some of the gameplay, and I was doing the same thing. You know, he's doing it. He's doing it. Yeah. So there were a few things that kind of got me giddy with this movie. I think it was kind of inevitable if you love the series. But moving on to the villains, we have Antonio Banderas as Santiago Moncada, and then we got Tati Gabrielle as Joe Braddock. Yeah,
I'm finding out their names for the first time. You telling me? I didn't know their fucking names.
It felt like
it
one
felt,
of the games. It felt like one of the games.
They did that right. They got the villains terrible.
Yeah, the villains were not. I was feeling Joe up to a point, and then like towards the second and third act, I was like, she's just like every other villain from the games, just not memorable.
The bad villains.
The bad villain. Yeah. Not every other villain, but the bad villain. The villains that just don't.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Good. I would say good for a second one. But anyway, that we can talk about the games all day. But yeah, Joe, I felt like we would see a little bit more of her choreography, things like that. Did you see the double cross coming from Antonio Banderas?
Someone said, I forgot whose review I was watching. Someone said like, "Oh, Antonio Banderas was the villain, and then we get another villain." So I was kind of thinking that, but like when it happened, I don't want to say I saw it coming, but I was like, okay.
Yeah,
you're still the villain. It's not like if another henchman like killed him, and I was like, "Oh shit! All right,
yeah.
I didn't know."
I think that would have the Irish. If the Irish, yeah. If the Irish dude would have done that, that would have been crazy. But like we kind of already saw that. I saw it coming. Because when he hired Chloe and Joe at the same time, you could see Joe kind of resent him. And, you know, it's just kind of like she didn't trust him anymore. What'd you think about the kill, man?
I was just going to talk about it. So, someone said before the movie came out, someone said, I just saw the worst throat slit in a movie in quite some time. And I was like, what are you talking about? She slit his throat. And you just see little droplets, little itty bitty droplets.
Yo, it was like some Arby's sauce, bro. We could have done this with the Arby's sauce.
And what killed me is that they keep showing it. They keep showing that.
They should have cut it. They shouldn't have showed him laying there, because it would have been a little bit more effective if we wouldn't have seen all the blood, you know, and we could have imagined there being more blood. But when they showed him, it looked like the pack of Arby's sauce.
It annoyed me because, listen, I didn't think Antonio Banderas was necessarily going to be great, but I wanted an over the top, you know, performance. You know, if he had delivered that, and you know, it would have fit with the movie and it could have been entertaining. But no, he does nothing in the movie. He dies, and we get another villain who's just
as mediocre, just as mediocre as he was.
But
Antonio Banderas, he could do it. I've been saying this. I've been saying that since we've been talking about how he was a villain in this film. And you know, I was talking to our buddy Benji, and he was like, Antonio Banderas is going to give, you know, a mediocre performance. And I was like, I don't doubt that's true, but it's got to be what he's given, because Antonio Banderas could do it. I've seen him act where he could give this over the top performance and could actually bring forth a great villain.
Listen.
In all seriousness, I knew that it wasn't going to be written like that.
In all seriousness, these movies are not that great. I wanted a performance the way he acts in Spy Kids, bro.
Yeah.
And you know exactly what I mean. He's over the top in those movies, but it works. I wanted that in this movie. I feel like that's how an Uncharted villain should be. Like, Uncharted 2's villain is like insanely over the top. But he works because he's intimidating and he's cool. You know, the rest of the villains are not really over the top like that. They're just kind of there. And that's how I felt about these villains. They were throwing in some plot line with him, with his, what was that, his father or something? And I was like,
his ancestors, his father.
Why do I care about this?
They're trying to get you to care about it, but it kind of was failing. Not kind of. It was failing.
Listen, the thing with villains in movies, unless it's something like Syndrome, because to me, Syndrome and Thanos are the two most sympathetical villains in cinema, to my knowledge.
Okay.
I feel like we need to kind of stop making it that we empathize with the villains, because I just don't care. You're throwing these lines at me. You're throwing the storyline of, oh, he's losing his heritage or whatever. I'm like, why do I care? I don't care. You know, like, just be a dick. Like, that's it. You have one job. Be a dick. Be an over-the-top clown dick.
The thing about that is, I see where you're coming from, but I also feel like it's been done so many times, like with 80s films, like the Indiana Jones films, things like that. There's just been villains that are just there. And people respond to, you know, emotional connections from different villains, things like that. Like Thanos, like we know what he went through, and we kind of respect him for that. Same thing with Syndrome that you mentioned. Like, we kind of know his backstory. We kind of feel for him. So that's one reason that it makes him a great villain. So they kind of tried to do that with it. I don't even know if they tried that hard. It didn't feel like they even tried.
They didn't try hard.
They didn't try it hard.
When they were trying, I was like, really?
I think it was half baked. I felt like the villain was very half baked. If they would have taken a little bit more time with it, I don't know if I would have loved it, because I don't know if I would have cared, but maybe they could have gotten me to care. I don't know. But,
and then we'll never see that. Cody Leach mentioned that the other villain was like Nadine from 4 and Lost Legacy. And I was like, I can kind of see that, but the difference is I like Nadine because, you know, she's an actual ass kicker who kicks the shit out of Nathan and Sam a lot in 4.
Yeah, and they tried to do that with Joe
and failed.
It didn't work. Pretty much everything they tried with the villains didn't work in this movie.
There's a lot of screen time where they're not there. Like that period where, I can't believe I'm going to utter these words. When they were fucking going and they found the treasure in the Papa John's. Jesus Christ.
In the Papa John's. I thought that was kind of funny, though. He was like, I'm literally in a Papa John's right now. I was like, wait, is that Papa John's for real?
And it's funny. This was just like with Power Rangers. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Krispy Kreme, Krispy Kreme." I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I heard people mentioning, "Oh, I want Papa John's." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? And then I see this.
I wanted bubble yum.
Bubble yum. But like that whole sequence where him and Chloe are going through the catacombs and shit. The villains are nowhere to be found for like 40 minutes. And then they show up when, you know, they're about to get the key. Like when Mark Wahlberg enters the Papa John's and, you know, and he's about to put the key in the fucking thing.
Yeah,
and then
Joe shows up.
Yeah, but that's really like 30 minutes. I
really like that. I really like that fighting sequence between Joe and Sully, even though Sully doesn't really fight. Like, you know, and that's me comparing the games again. That's me, you know, I feel like with that character, it was hard not to compare to the games because he was just doing stuff that Sully just does not do. I didn't like how he kind of led Nathan to believe that his brother was alive, and it turns out that he wasn't. He was just using him, and he did not care at all. Sully has more of a heart than that. I didn't like how that was written in like that. He would never do that. And also they kind of made him a little greedy in this movie too.
Yeah.
Like he's never been that gold oriented and like money oriented. I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
I don't think he's ever been like that. Maybe in the beginning of 3, like when that whole sequence was happening and he was trying to get the thing, but
but it wasn't like to that extent. Like, oh, my bag of gold, like that. It was just like weird.
Like he was in the games, he was always just for the ride. He was helping Nathan, but he wasn't like, oh, like you fucked up. You didn't get my treasure, you bastard.
Yeah, like I don't know, and he never really been that distrusting. Like he was like, "You're not gonna take my key." Like it's just like what?
Yeah, there was a lot of finger pointing, and I was like, "Bro, if you guys are gonna fucking do this thing, just shut the hell up.
Just do it. Like, give me the key. What are you talking about, bro?
Fuck.
Great, exactly. I don't know. I did think the sequence was funny when he was looking at the journal and told him to turn it clockwise, and they turned it clockwise, and the arrows came out. It's like I don't have my glasses, I can't see this. That was funny. So there were some
funny lines with him. There was one I forgot. When he puts the earpiece in his ear, he's like, "Can you hear me?" He's like, "Yes, I'm right next to you."
Yeah, that was funny. It's like, don't put your hands in your ear. You look like an idiot. There were some things that were
the line that made me laugh the most is when after he falls off the lights and the guys come up to him, he goes, "Let me ask you a question. Who put that handrail there?" I screeched, bro. That was hilarious.
Questions here.
That was so funny, bro.
Yeah, that was a good sequence. I was starting to feel like that was one of the sequences I was like, let's kind of get on with this. Like, let's get on with it. Let's get on with the story. Like, I didn't particularly find the film boring, but there were sequences where I was like, let's get this going. As well with the catacombs, with the key, him dropping the key down and stuff like that.
My least favorite segment of the movie.
Let's get on with the story.
This is how I felt from the beginning of the movie to after the auction. I was digging it. I was like, okay, I'm kind of digging this. When they go into the catacomb, when it's just him and Chloe, I was like, oh my god, like fucking move, like do something. And
I was feeling that same way.
And we got the plane sequence, and I was like, all right, that was cool. And then it slowed down again. I'm like, oh my god, bro.
Yeah.
And when the third act finally started, when the third act finally started, I was like, thank the Lord, bro. The pacing in the movie was very inconsistent for me.
Yeah, it was spotty for sure. The pacing in the movie was kind of spotty. I never thought that it was bad though. I never thought that the pacing was completely terrible, but it could have definitely done a better job with some of the parts. But every time I was like, let's move on with it. They ended up kind of moving on with it after a minute. So I don't know. That's one reason why I didn't hate the pacing. But yeah, before we get to our final grades, do you have any other, thoughts, conundrums, anything?
I hope for the sequel they just stick to one game. Like, why are we cramming 4 games into one movie, or moments from one game or 4 different games into one movie? Like, there's literally moments from all 4 games in this movie. Why? Just stick to one plot. And I feel like, and I'm kind of disappointed that they did the pirate shit already, because that's the plot to Uncharted 4. Yeah, and that's the best of the 4 plots.
Yeah, that's your favorite plot.
And now, and I was dreading it. I don't know why. I thought we were going to get supernatural shit in this movie somehow. I'm dreading that that's going to be the next step if they do the sequel. And I'm not looking forward to that at all, because 90%. You
don't want the zombies from the first game? Come on now.
No. 90% of the Uncharted fan base can agree that when the series goes supernatural, that's when it's like, why are you doing this? So I'm excited to see what Tom Holland can do next, if he can do something next. I hope they do something with Mark Wahlberg to make him more like Sully. I don't know. Maybe they do the fucking.
Don't hold your breath, bro.
Yeah, maybe they do the No Way Home thing with Michelle, where she's like, "Oh, I'm not Mary Jane." She's like, "Oh, I have a totally different last name. I'm not Mary Jane Watson." You know, maybe they're like, "Oh, I'm not Victor Sullivan." I'm like Victor Sullivan the Seventh or something. I don't fucking know.
They gonna retcon Sully.
Maybe, and also Elena.
Yeah, let's get Elena in this franchise. If they do a sequel, which I'm not necessarily pushing for, I won't hate it because I walked out of this film liking it, not loving this film, but like liking it. I had a really good time in the theater. I'm glad I saw it in the theater. I feel like if I wouldn't have seen it in the theater, I would have had a different, different thoughts about it. But hearing that score, that theme, Uncharted theme in the theater, man, I was turning up. I really was. So moving on to our final grades for this film. Out of 5, what are you giving it, man?
I was writing a 3 or a 3.5. My final score is a 3. I was gonna give it a 3.5 because of the third act, but the rest of the movie was just so dull and boring. I didn't really love it. I was like, it's okay, but I'm probably never gonna watch this again. I told Alex too. I was like, if you really want to go see it, go see it. But I would say just wait for it to come out on 4K. Like,
but you're gonna get it day one. But anyway, yeah. So I do feel like overall, I do feel like there were some things in the film that definitely were flaws. Things that were a little uninteresting. But for the most part, I had a pretty good time. I was surprised. I went in with very low expectations. Didn't love the casting going in, but I walked out liking it. So the third act, I was just having a smile. I had a smile from ear to ear the whole time. I loved it. But for the rest of the film, it was just kind of, not terrible. Little generic. So my final grade is going to be a 3.5 out of 5. I kind of changed it after thinking about it, but I walked out with a 4 just because I was kind of on that high, but 3.5. But yeah, it concludes our stream, our spoiler talk. Make sure you follow Mind of a Nerd on Instagram, on YouTube. His links are all in the description. And I'm AJ of AJREACTS2, and we out. Peace.